Okay, so now we're moving on to 1.2, line segments and distances. Again, make sure you check all the vocabulary as you go along, make notes of it. Each one of the definitions are within the descriptions as you go through the exercises, okay? So make sure you take notes, understand what each and every one is, and then obviously now we can start example 1. And as you can see, it's just a case of adding or subtracting measurements, etc., etc. Okay, but make sure you read the statement and the question. The question is asking you e.g., and the one thing you need to look for is you've got to make the assumption that figures are not drawn to scale. Okay, so what is it asking you for? It's asking you to go from E to G, so you've got to add together your 2 3/4 to get your distances, and it's absolute value, so it's 5.5 inches. Okay, so let's have a look at what you've got for, I'm going to go straight to number 2, right? We've just done an add-in in example 1, but let's have a look at number 2. What do we know? We know that RT is 4 centimetres, ST is 1.6, we want RS, so this is just going to be purely and simply, so RS, this is question number 2, is just going to be the 4 minus the 1.6, which is going to give us 2.4. Make sure you put the units on as well, so 2.4 centimetres. Alright, so let's have a look at what you've got for example 2. What are you told? These are basically additions. Now we've got algebra, but you can see that xz is this 5a minus 4, xy is 3a, and yz is 14. So this time you've got to add this section and this section together in order to equal that. Okay, so it's 2 segment additions to equal the full length, and it's just basic algebra, and you can come up with it. So a is equal to 9 on this. Okay. So let's have a look at what we've got for question number 3. Now we've got to find 2 things, but let's see what we've got to find. It says find the value of x, because obviously we're using algebra, so we're finding a variable, and the distance of BC. But what do we know? It says B is between C and D. So draw yourself a bit of a line. Okay, let's put the ends as B, as C and D. And B is going to be somewhere in the middle, but we've no idea. But if you look at what we've got in the definition, we've got CB is 2x and BD is 4x, so it's going to be twice the size. Okay, so let's put B there. So CB is 2x, this is 4x. Okay, and what do we know? We know that this guy is 12. We don't know the whole length this time, we only know this part. So let's put the algebra together. We know that 4x must equal 12, so x must equal 3. Okay, so now we've found out what x is, but what have we got to find? We find the value of x, we've got to find BC. Well, BC is 2x, so 2x, and we know that x equals 3, so that's going to equal 2 times whatever 3 is, and as you know, that's going to be 6. Okay. Alright, so now we're finding the distance between certain things, and this is absolute values. As you can see what we've got here, they're calling it the distance formula, but basically we're looking at the two points. Okay, it's absolute value, but obviously in geometry we only take the positive, so all we're interested in is the fact that it's 8. Okay. So let's have a look at what we've got. Okay, so we're looking at number 5. We're going from x, so x is at -1, and y we know is at 7, and we want the absolute distance from -1 to 7, so xy is going to be the absolute value of -1, and then you've got your 7 as well. Okay, so absolute value of 1 is, you're going to add these two guys together. So basically it's from -1 to +7, which is going to give you 8 units. Alright, so now we're looking at example 4. We've got 2 points, C, -4, -6, and D5, -1. but obviously you can see that you've been given a graph here just to check it, but anyway, you can check it with Pythagoras. But before you get to graphing it, what do you know? Only these 2 points. That's the only thing you can be absolutely certain of. We're going back to Algebra 1 for the distance formula, and if you remember from the distance formula, you're going to square both of your parentheses, so it doesn't matter which point you make as x1, y1, because it's going to square out anyway, so your negatives are going to become positives. And you finish up with 9 squared plus 5 squared, which will give you 81 plus 25, which will give you your 106. And take the positive root of that, which is 10.3. So the distance between C and D is 10.3. All right, so now let's have a look at what we've got for number 7. We've got the points, so let's have a look at what you've got. Okay, you know A is 4, 9, B is 2, negative 3. Let's put it in the distance formula. I'm not quoting the distance formula, I'm just going to substitute in, and I'm calling this 1 and this 2. So this is going to be 2 minus 4 and squaring it, plus negative 3 minus 9 and squaring it. Okay, so you're going to finish up with what is basically 2 squared plus 12 squared, which is going to give you the square root of 148, and the square root of 148 to the nearest point, decimal point, is 12.2.